When Anna asked me to present, to tell you the truth, I didn't know exactly what I was going to present on right away. But I went back to some of the classes I've created. There's precedence in North Dakota I have a lot of things on my teaching license that I can do, and some unique classes that I can teach, and two of them are North Dakota Studies to the high school kids and Law and Justice. And Law and Justice is probably the class I'm most confident in that I teach because of the unique way we go about things in Law and Justice. And this year I've taken on North Dakota Studies in the high school. It all kind of started, you can go to the next slide, Anna. It all kind of started, I think we converted over to FlexMod for a few years in 2017, if I'm on the right timeline. And when we converted over to FlexMod, Mr. Beta came up to me because we were having a problem because we're getting 35 kids, 40 kids in our other high school social studies classes. And he asked me, hey, what else would you like to teach? What would you want to do? And I looked at my teaching credentials, and I looked and I looked and I looked, and I thought, hey, a law class would be kind of neat without any curriculum, without any resources, without really anything. So it was created from the ground up by me in 2017. And over the years, one of the things I wanted to do in the law and justice side was get a bunch of speakers and people that actually have experience in the law side into my classroom, including Rhonda. And one of the reasons I brought those people in is because, one, I'm teaching it and I wanted to have some of those real life experiences. And we've had different speakers over the years, but we've had some consistency with, like, Rhonda has been in. Alex Breitbach was one of the first people I contacted, and he comes in yearly. He's been a real fun speaker for the kids, and as he said, from his first year to now, he's gotten to be a better speaker. So he's been really fun, and it's been neat to have some of those speakers in. And overall, I get a lot of feedback from my kids, and they really enjoy law and justice. So, like I said, just some background with that, from about 2017 to now, the way that class is developed. And then this year, we've had it where it's been one semester for 3 days a week. I think last year I was all the way up to teaching the class every day for a full year, and I went to Mr. Beta and went, that's probably, there's just not enough content that I have to teach that for a full year. So I asked them if we could do one semester, and then I had to find another class to complement law and justice for an elective, social studies elective. And I chose North Dakota Studies. So I'm on an adventure with North Dakota Studies in my 19th year of teaching, but my first year teaching it to the high school. I teach it to the 8th grade, but trying to take some of that content from the 8th grade and up it to the high school. That's where I'm at right now with that. You can change the slide. Okay. Oh, and the background of that last slide, that was one of our speakers we had in. That was Justice John Jensen, who is on the North Dakota Supreme Court, and he came in a few years back. So here's some pictures that I've had of some of the speakers in law and justice. You can see kind of in the top right, probably one of, I think this was the first year we did it, probably one of the most, one of the most rewarding times we've had, because we had Mr. Beta, Mr. Sitzler, and Officer O'Brien come in, and my kids always have questions. They ask questions on law at the state and national level, but one of the biggest things they ask is at the school level, like, what are their rights? And I advocate from 7th grade on, know what you can and can't do, advocate for yourself. We talk about it constantly in every class I teach. And it was really neat to get Mr. Beta and Officer Sitzler and Officer O'Brien in the class, because kids got to ask questions. Why can lockers be searched? What are my rules when talking about vehicles? What are my rights when we talk about policy in the school? And they spent a whole day. I think we could have spent a week talking about all this. And it all boiled down to, many of them, they wanted to know about tinted windows. They wanted to know about exhaust, that, you know, things that they were concerned about and that were important to them. And it was one of the more rewarding experiences they have had, and they talked about it for days, and it was kind of neat to have them in. Top left, that is Judge Narum, he's been one of my consistent speakers. He's great. He comes in and talks about Southeast District Court, and the kids always asking questions like, what is your most difficult case? Things like that. Right in the middle there was a pretty unique story. I think it was last year. Mr. Beta came in with 2 police officers into my room and goes, can we see you for a second? And I didn't know what I did. Asked me to come out in the hallway. Well, one of the officers for the North Dakota Highway Patrol is one of my cousins up in Fargo, Chris Elgo. He was actually, I think, the North Dakota Officer of the Year this year. So he came in and I asked him to come back because what they were doing is they were doing a search of the school with their dogs. And I texted him, asked him to come back, and he not only came back with his dog, he came back with a bloodhound, which is one of 2 in North Dakota. And one of the cool things is we went outside, it was November, as you can see, snow on the ground. And he asked one of our students to basically give him his hat and start running. And the dog tracked him down out by the football practice field. And the kids had a lot of fun with that. Just a couple other highlights. Alex is in the bottom right. And I think Rhonda far away is in the bottom left there. So I appreciate all my speakers that come, and you can flip it in like. And then some of the topics I want to talk about. The one picture, that was a blood lab we did. That is not real blood. We got a formula to mix it in, and I was storing it in the back of my room, and I had some questions about that. But it is not real blood. We found a formula to do it, and the kids got to do some testing on it, and if it would coagulate versus not, and how they worked it out. And then one of the highlights of our class, what kind of the culmination is in the top right is we do a mock trial. Now, we've had some great mock trials. We've had some average mock trials. We've had some kids that wanted to dress up. I think you can kind of see some of the kids, you know, in that picture when they were still in high school. I pulled one from years ago. I record it. The kids have fun with it. I play the judge and they get to play the lawyers. We do a semi-scripted mock trial. I don't tell them what to say. They have about 2 weeks to research it on their own. I ask for volunteers. I've never had a lack of volunteers to be lawyers. And it is a lot of work, and the kids very much enjoy it. Those are some of the topics we cover in law and justice. We usually round out with financial literacy, and year in and year out, the kids ask, how does that have to do with law and justice? Well, when I first started, I kind of asked that myself, but I thought, what a better way to cover financial literacy in a class that's an elective that really has to do with some of that, you know, credit law with bank loans and how you can do some of that. We cover civil law. One of the kids, we've had everything covered from OJ's civil trial to just about everything. I really enjoy, we talk some local cases, not just particularly with civil law, but in trial court. One of the ones that I really enjoy talking about is Gordon Call. If you know who Gordon Call is, we talk about that quite a bit, and how it's not just what we see. Most kids don't know about Gordon Call, but not just about what you see on the surface, the background and the agricultural background and the anti-government background that builds up to that case. You can flip it, Anna. So I flip over to North Dakota Studies. This is this is my first year teaching this. I put some assignment examples, and it's a little hard to see, but 2 of my favorite assignments, because one deals with one of my favorite standards, that's on the left, and it allows the kids to connect an early political movement to a grassroots modern political movement. And I had kids connect to, we talked about the progressive era, we talked about the Farmers Alliance, we talked about a populist movement, which is part of the Farmers Alliance in the late 1800s. And we connected it to things like the Green Party. We had kids connecting it to, I had one student connected to grassroots movement of Black Lives Matter. It was a really neat assignment to read over for when the kids were all said and done. And one of the coolest assignments we're doing, I thought of it early, is we're doing a North Dakota interest project, and it's really personal to them. I let the kids pick the standards they want to connect to. I let the kids really, the only stipulation I had is it has to be something from North Dakota. I put some suggestions on there. One of the suggestions, I had a group run with it, and it's still ongoing. The due date is March 10th. I let them have the extension. What they're doing is they're doing the history of volleyball at Oaks Public School. And they started and they had all the records. I think they set up to like 2001, and then it got a little, maybe it was 2010, I don't remember, but it got a little messy. So now what they're doing is they're talking to Robin, and they're also cross-referencing some yearbooks. And they're slowly, every day that we have an opportunity to work on that project, they're going to the library, looking through the yearbooks and building that. I had a young lady do some of the history of the Angry Beaver, interviewing some of the people, and she made a big poster, and I encouraged her to give it to Sean and show him, and maybe he can display it. I have a group doing North Dakota football, or Oaks football, and I think they narrowed the driver down to, I think 2000. I think it was when Mr. Dobitz started coaching, to now is where they're at now with that. I have a group that did North Dakota ghost towns, and they worked in some actual ghosts in that presentation. So it's kind of cool. I've watched some of it. They've had to check in with me periodically. They've had it's been some really enjoyable projects. The kids that have worked hard on it, it's been really neat to watch them be really super interested in that. You can flip the slide out. Now, I don't have a lot of pictures from one of my new classes I teach here. Years ago, up until last year, we taught a leadership class, or I taught a leadership class to high schoolers. And the numbers in the high school are kind of waning in that leadership class because kids would take it as seniors, but there wasn't a lot of seniors that could take it. Once we converted back to our bell schedule, it really restricted who could take it. So I was in, like, I would have 3 kids, I would have 4 kids. And once Mr. Spellerberg left, we were co-teaching that. And once he left, the numbers weren't there once we went back to that bell schedule. So last year we had a meeting late in the year, and Mr. Beta wanted to give some options to choir and band kids and make it basically an elective for our junior high. And I sat there quite silent for a long time, and he goes, "Well, do you want a study hall?" And I paused for a little bit, and I took a big breath, and I go, "I think it'd be a great idea to move our leadership class into the junior high." And it's been a work in progress. I can say that. This is an early picture. Oh, you're fine. That's an early picture for some of the things we did in leadership class. That's some of the groups. I think I had a lot of pictures from this group, so I pulled some of them. I have 21 kids in the class. It's a semi-mix of 7th and 8th graders. I think I only have 2 7th graders in the class right now, and all the rest are 8th grade. I think I have 2 ladies in the class and 19 boys. It is, like I said, a work in progress. We have some topics we've covered. What we've centered around really in second semester, the HOM is our habits of mind. Probably the one we've spent the most time on is impulse control. We have some kids in the junior high that struggle with impulse control. All of junior high really struggles with impulse control. And we talk about where that can lead you. Right now, yesterday, we started talking about taking responsible risk. And one of their things they love to talk about is snowmobiling. They love to snowmobile. So we talk about, would adding a helmet lessen the risk if you were going on your snowmobile? That's as far as we've got there. They've really enjoyed the financial literacy piece we've also talked about. I pulled from so many different places. This is another class that I go, yep, I'll I'll take it on really with not a whole lot of idea when I took it on of resources, really just curriculum and learning at, a lot of it's learning as I go. One of the cool things they did is they did some interest projects. One kid got to show me or got to show us how to do a double leg. I'm not a wrestler, so I got to learn all about that. And then we talked a lot first semester about study skills. So it, like I said, I hope it gets to the level of law and justice, where law and justice is in year 6. Both North Dakota studies and life skills are in basically year 1. So that class right there is 5 days a week. So I teach it every single day to 21 7th and 8th graders. You can click on what I think this might, no, here's the video. This was an activity we did at our PCBL convening. And I don't remember the name of the activity, but basically the kids stand in the circle. And if the person in the circle goes, I think one of them says, I like turtles. And they raise their hand if they like turtles, and they got to switch position. If one is left out, they stay in the circle and they got to say something they like. It's kind of a relationship, get to know you type piece. We did it earlier in the year, I think, in the PCBL. Now you'll notice these kids have a lot more energy than the adults when we did it. So you can play that, Anna. Go, Matthias. Don't hurt each other. What do you got, Kristen? You are. So that's just a little example. That's the real personal part of it. Those kids, especially if you can get all those boys running around a little bit. To calm them down takes a little bit, and that's a whole nother piece. But, that would be it. If you guys have any questions.
So to keep in the spirit of our new goals and to put you on the spot, how will what you presented to us today help us to achieve our goals of increasing our scores on North Dakota student assessments in math, ELA, and becoming choice ready?
So one of the things you thought, or one of the things, if you go to choice ready, I mean, I'm bringing in speakers, especially in law and justice. I mean, we had, I think, 6 speakers this year. So if kids are seeing different careers they could go into. I think every career that I showed would be a something you would have to go to school for. And then the writing piece that you talked about. One of the things we do in especially my high school classes is my kids get to use their notes that they take on their test, but the questions are higher level critical thinking type social studies skills questions. So they are writing, and I'm judging that piece. So they're writing quite a bit. The last test they took in North Dakota Studies was almost a full hour of testing, and it was mostly writing.
Thank you. And yeah. I jotted down something that I thought was very interesting, as you said that one of my favorite standards, and I just never thought about teachers having a favorite standard.
Absolutely. That is one of my favorites, is when you can connect, and I think that's social studies. One of the standards is if you can connect something to modern day, and really that's when we talk about standards-based grading, that's a level 4 right there, where you can connect this era to this. And I try to ask some of my questions in that way, not every question, to contradict what Anna said a little bit. One of the things I said was, I get a lot of feedback, especially from my sophomores, because they like to talk and they like to give me feedback. Some of it's not always great, some of it's good, some of it's bad. But they tell me, one of the best feedbacks I got was from a young lady and said, Mr. Peterson, you're teaching this class, and we've had North Dakota Studies, and but we haven't had law and justice. Some of these things you're talking about, like one of the words was a referendum. We're not sure what that means. Can you make sure you include vocab in if we're doing a full group session of notes? And I said, you know what, I never thought about that. And I go, absolutely. So right now, one thing we do if we have a lot of vocab is I'll put a beginning slide or a beginning video. I video all my all my notes and my lessons. At the beginning of my video, I put a vocab section for them of anything I think they might need. And I know I've gotten really good feedback from the kids on that. And they, like I said, I get feedback from, especially in North Dakota studies, I get feedback from my kids all the time. So.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks.